So electrical channel, I'm Axel. Quick one on coincidence and delays and stuff, filtering measures, management, time managed systems. A couple of things you can do is use delays on either your inputs or your outputs, or coincidence. So you run a couple of zones, certainly on this panel, run a couple of zones sort of together, daisy chained to through an area to give an early indication of a fire without triggering everything going off. So for instance, where a heat detector, for instance, very good in a lot of environments for not going off with false alarms. You know, an A1R is at what, 57 degrees, 56 degrees, it'll go off. But it won't detect certain fires, you know, like you might have a slow smouldering fire, which isn't going to get hot enough to trigger that heat detector, but you're going to be getting a lot of smoke, slow spread of fire. So you might have smoke detectors in there, opticals, but you'll have them wired for coincidence. So in this instance, 2 zones running through all the areas appropriately spaced, so that when one of them goes off, it will give you an early indication to investigate, or given, you know, a little bit of time, it will trigger the next device, which will then send the system into full evacuation, triggers your outputs, etc. You know, it might be that you've got a simple system, a simple site, but the fire and rescue service in that area will only come out for a confirmed fire. So a fire is just smoke detector goes off, panel goes into fire. Confirmed fire is something like a cool point puts the system into full fire, heat detector puts it into full fire, like so those are really confirmed, but smoke detectors are more sensitive. So if you had a coincidence set up, it would be the triggering of 2 zones that then triggers your output, which could be connected to a monitoring bridge, so putting that into fire. So then when that fire signal goes across, you, as part of your design process, you've agreed it with the local fire and rescue service that that is wired for confirmed fire. If you blagged it with them, they'd soon find out that you had blagged it. So that's something to consider there. Delays, why would you have delays? For instance, I've had it before where one panel's output has triggered the input on another panel, and then that panel's output has triggered the input on the other panel. If you don't have any kind of delay or lack of latching programmed in, then they will just get into a signal loop. So I've used delays like that. You might use it if you've got a sprinkler system, for instance. The sprinkler system will have a flow switch, so water goes, same with the gas boiler when it cools for heat, right? So the water will flow through, trigger the flow switch, which will trigger your alarm input and send the system into full fire, right? Every sprinkler head is in essence a heat detector, but the system will occasionally repressurize itself. You might have losses somewhere, so it would have the occasional little burst of just getting itself back up to whatever bar it is, like 5 bar, I think, 4 bar. So you will have a delay on that input, perhaps for up to like 10 seconds, maybe, to give you the for that system to give itself the opportunity to get in and out of that mode. I don't know if I would have it non-latching. I think the delay would be sufficient for that. So if it's still seeing that signal at the end of the delay period, you know, it will then go into full evacuation. Right, I'm going to set this up for coincidence just so you can see it working. And this detector here has been giving me some grief. So this is the 3rd time I've tried to film this, and if it doesn't work, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because I won't be doing anything with it. Right, so we're on to coincidence there. Enable, oops, sorry. Next, so we're picking zones 1 and 2, because that's what I've got wired. Select those. Next, so see they're solid, jump out. Right, so we're in normal mode. So I'm going to trigger you first. I think actually that one's for zone 2, it doesn't really matter. They're kind of like synergized. You gonna go? Or is it you? Oh, he's gonna go, right, fine. So we have gone into fire, right? So this panel, you might, if you're running a coincidence sort of setup, you'll have this or a repeater somewhere where train staff or maintenance staff or whomever is going to see it. So they're going to go, right, on this bit, I've got to go have a look, but we haven't, you know, our output hasn't fired and our sounder hasn't gone off, right? So say there's no one about and the fire continues to grow, and then your next device, one of the other devices on that neighbouring zone. Right, cool. That was giving me grief earlier, so I'm glad that happened. Here we go. So, you've seen what's happened there. My output, this LED tape has been triggered. You heard the sounder go off. So that only went off when the second zone got fired. Can't remember if I cleared this one out enough. So that is a coincidence. That's how it works. Obviously this is just a couple of devices on the desk. You know, imagine what scenario in that you might need it. So thorough consultation before you start putting this stuff in. You know, it's putting in a coincidence isn't necessarily going to be a variation, but mentally you are introducing a form of delay. So it's well worth discussing with everyone, making sure everyone's on the same page, particularly if you're using it for your communication with fire and rescue service as a confirmed fire. You know, make sure you've got that cleared with all parties. I mean, it's nice just to sometimes go to a job, knock out a quote or an estimate, and then get the work. But, you know, if fire and rescue service, their boundary lines don't always meet up with the boundary lines of the council borough that you're in, for instance, or whatever. So worth reaching out to them to say, look, this is how I'm doing this. Would you come out if it was programmed in such a way? You know, discuss. They are an interested party, along with the people that own the building, people that work in the building, etc. Delays. So like on this one, you've got a wheel. It's minutes. Not super accurate. Same as programming a bathroom fan. On this one, on this particular panel, I've had it on a few others. Anything less than 2 minutes almost goes off straight away. So have a think about that. On a, you know, an actual addressable panel, the programming will be more specific. You can't delay your communication with the fire and rescue service within a residential care home, right? But you might be able to have a coincidence set up just to enable the staff to investigate. And again, you want to cut that delay time down as much as possible. But, you know, them phoning is a confirmed fire. A human being has seen a fire and has phoned them. But in terms of like program a delay on your outputs, you wouldn't do it for your monitoring for your for a care home. Can I think of anything else? The EM54 part 2, I want to say, allows a small delay on manual call points, even though they are a confirmed fire. It still should give you 10 seconds or so to run from your desk, you know, reception, to show and see if, you know, a naughty kid has hit the call point in your chicken shop or whatever, as I witnessed in Clapham High Street the other day. What else? You'll sometimes hear coincidence called double knock. So coincidence is just, think of it more as coincidence. It's two separate things related have happened. Then double knock normally means two separate things have happened, which triggers an output. So on this panel, it's called coincidence, and it is within the regs definitions a double knock. So, you know, whatever. Right, that was very brief. Hopefully I'll show you one of these on site one day. I just haven't had a site I can film on. Yeah, questions and queries in the comments. Fire alarm engineers, fire engineers, if any of you watch it. Yeah, any corrections or notes I will gladly take. I'll show how to set up coincidence and a few other panels that I've got kicking around as and when I get time. Cheers, love you, bye.